Okay, hey everyone. Anyone who is a member of our Level Up crew is going to be super happy with this tonight. We've got Lora Grabow. She is a master licensed social worker. She has been in the bariatric industry for 20 years, and she's got amazing things to share with the community. We're always passionate about being able to share this kind of stuff because this is like the meat and bones of success behind weight loss surgery. So we don't want to ever lose the mindset portion of it, how to do head work, as Lora calls it. And we're just super excited to have her here tonight. And without further ado, we will have her do her little introduction and get started.
Yeah, so Whitney, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me to teach for your community. I'm so excited that you've started this Level Up membership community because people need lifetime support. Besides head work, another saying of mine, if you will, is community is treatment. Just like getting your protein in as bariatric patients, our patients need community. Patients need other patients. And it's just great that you are providing a resource for that. And I am so glad that you've invited me to teach because teaching is a sweet spot of mine and it's my passion. I know that you got to hear me teach at Bariatric Retreat, and that was one of my best speaking engagements by far in the last 20 something years. So I'm going to bring out my screen. So Whitney, thank you for having me. Welcome to Chrissy, who's live. Welcome to all of you who are watching the recording. And I know this is one of the first master classes. You're gonna enjoy this recording, and I think you're gonna enjoy it so much that you're gonna want to come back to the next one that Whitney creates for you and schedules for you live. So glad that you're here and thankful for the recording. I'm gonna share my screen here real quick. All right, so I am here to talk about head hunger, probably one of the most requested topics that patients ask me to speak on, recognizing and coping with head hunger in healthy ways. Just a little bit, Whitney already did a wonderful introduction of me, but I'll share a little bit more. I have been a bariatric therapist for over 20 years now. I started in 2003. I'm like, am I really that old? I'm really that old. I am an owner of my own counseling practice here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'm actually coming to you from my office. I continue to have a brick and mortar office and still see people virtually and have an online business as well. I do individual therapy and coaching with bariatric patients. I also created and launched my own online course called Foundations in Head Work for Healthy Weight Loss that you'll hear a little bit more at the end of my presentation today. And I am an expert who I come and teach these master classes in membership communities like Bari Nation and also now Level Up Bariatrics. I'm very excited to add that professional speaker and trainer. You see, that's what I'm doing as well. I not only speak for patients, but I speak for my colleagues as well. I'm very involved in the ASMBS, the American Society for Metabolic and Bariatric Surgery. And my passion, Whitney used that word, the meat and bones. The meat and bones of what I do is providing what I believe is still the missing piece of the bariatric treatment plan, a piece I call head work. All of you who have chosen to have bariatric surgery, you have chosen the best tool to answer the question of how do I treat my disease of obesity? Bariatric surgery, hands down, still the best tool for treating the disease of obesity, and that answers the how question. Head work really has to do with digging deeper and addressing why do I eat? So that's a little bit about me. A little bit about my teaching style. I know when I come to a master class, I want to know like, okay, where is this going to go? What am I going to learn? Am I going to leave with something that I could even use right now, either this evening yet, Monday evening, if you're watching live, or after the recording? Will you have tools that you'll leave with? Absolutely, you will. My style of teaching and how I set my slides up is we always start a little bit with understanding the problem. So talking about head hunger, why is this a problem? And then we work to solution. What do I do about it? I actually spend time talking about those three questions. Okay, so what's the problem? And then I go to so what? So what does head hunger have to do with my bariatric surgery journey? And then one of the areas I'm obviously the most passionate about is that third question I called now what? Now what do I do with it? And at the end of this masterclass, you will all leave with 3 tools um, on top of the knowledge that I'm teaching you about the what and the so what by the end of this class, which I call obviously the tools successful strategies to navigate head hunger. I have also learned, I didn't put up here, but with teaching these classes, it is best to hold our questions. I know we have a very intimate setting right now for live, so I will take the screens off and Q&A. We can be done with that. We can do that at the end. And then if Whitney, if you can just help me with time, I have my phone here, but the lock screen keeps going. But anyways, just kind of give me when it's like quarter till. I think I'll have a good run on it, but just let me know. So, all right. So I thought we would start. I know we only have a few here, but when I say the word head hunger, what do you think of? What is head hunger? Hi, Becca. Did you want to share what you think of when I say head hunger? Maybe not.
Oh no, I didn't realize I wasn't on mute. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right. When my
You're
head
probably
thinks
sitting here
I'm
like, what is this language I'm hearing? Sorry, my
April,
husband's practicing his German.
Becca, it is like it's okay. I took German back in high school. Maybe I'll know what he's talking about. Not really. Chrissy put when my head thinks I'm hungry, but I'm not really hungry. Absolutely. Absolutely. So not physical hunger. Whitney, did you want to add anything to that as a dietitian or what you've heard from your patients through the years?
I mean, non-physical hunger could be anywhere from, you're bored. I mean, anywhere where your eating used to be before surgery, just like alcohol would be for someone that's bored, you're filling your time, you're filling any kind of space you don't know what to do with food. Just like a little fallback, your crutch.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad you used that word non-physical hunger. So yes, I always define head hunger, and oftentimes it's the word used as emotional hunger, and they really are interchangeable. That it's hunger triggered by a desire or emotion. So any hunger that's not physical, and it's often triggered by desire or emotions. And all of us are very familiar with emotional hunger. Eating because I'm sad, eating because I'm mad, eating because I'm bored, eating because I'm happy. The research will show that actually happiness eating is the #1 feeling we eat for. We all like to think we're drowning our sorrows in chocolate chip cookies, but when they research the emotional eating, they realize it's actually happiness and joy, and we like to keep the good feeling going. We like to party and celebrate with food. We just probably had it at some Super Bowl parties yesterday. Emotional eating. And when I came into the field of obesity medicine back in 2003, and I started doing groups, and I worked at a clinic here, I forgot to say that. Before I went into complete private practice a few years ago, I worked at a bariatric clinic here in Grand Rapids for 18 years, and I would teach the classes live. This was like pre-COVID, and I learned from my patients. Certainly, they could identify with eating for their emotions. But I also found out that there was something else going on, like, it wasn't, like, boredom eating or sadness eating or happiness eating, and it wasn't physical hunger, it was something actually in between. And it goes like this. I'll share a patient story. It was a patient who would shared with me, I had had my food for the day. I was done. I had brushed my teeth. I had crawled in bed, and my adult children happened to be home from college because it was summertime. And they got home, and all of a sudden, I smelled pizza. Someone had put a pizza in the oven, and she smelled it. And she's like, "I wasn't thinking about pizza. Like, I wasn't particularly hungry, and I certainly wasn't thinking about pizza, but I ate it because it's there." And I soon learned that that's an emotional hunger, and we call it desire. Eating out of desire. So desire, not particularly hungry, but you eat because it's there. So it's that grazing that may happen in the break room at the office. We see a lot of this at the holidays when there's these bowls of nuts or these bowls of Christmas M&Ms, and you just kind of walk by and you take some. You're not particularly hungry, but you eat because it's there. I learned years ago I don't do this anymore because it's not just bariatric patients that struggle with emotional eating. We all do. If I make brownies and leave them in the 9 by 13 on the table or on the island, right? I'm kind of just taking a piece every time I walk by. So not particularly hungry, but I eat because it's there. That's eating out of desire. Where eating for our emotions, eating for sadness, boredom, happiness, mad, you name it, is usually you're thinking about it, and oftentimes our patients will describe it as a craving. I'm thinking about one food. I can't stop thinking about, and it's usually a highly palatable food that has sugar, fat, salt, or all of the above. Ice cream, pizza, mac and cheese, chocolate covered, whatever. So that's a little bit about head hunger. So the first step to these strategies okay, well, how do I cope with head hunger is you need to know the difference. I just want to see something. Okay. So I'm giving you a sneak peek. Look at, I went through my whole presentation. Sorry about that. I get excited. There we go. Know the difference between physical hunger and head hunger. How to know the difference. First of all, I think it's important to know this may be different, and this is something Whitney can certainly help you with as the dietitian working with bariatric patients, but not everyone's going to get these physical signs after bariatric surgery, depending on where you're at post-op. But one of the things I've learned from my patients is they actually are better at recognizing physical hunger after bariatric surgery, because here's the key. When they're physically hungry, when their stomach is empty, that new stomach of the sleeve or the smaller stomach that has been bypassed, depending on what procedure you've had, and they fill it with the appropriate food, they feel satisfied. And that never happened before bariatric surgery, because what we know about obesity being a metabolic disease is your hunger hormone, ghrelin, and your satiety hormone, leptin, they are all messed up and not working correctly. And we know that our patients tell us they never really felt full. They never really felt satisfied until they had bariatric surgery. So how to recognize physical hunger. It's often several hours after they've eaten. In fact, patients will tell me that, especially in the first year, because they've removed or bypassed the part of the stomach that secretes the ghrelin, the hunger hormone, they're not really feeling hungry. So they often have to use that clock. How long has it been since I've given my body some fuel? There's also physical symptoms. Some people might have stomach growling, headache, lightheadedness, dizzy. Patients will just describe, I feel empty. And again, here's the key. We have this tank, if you will, the physical hunger tank. You fill it with appropriate food, right? And I know you're learning a lot about that in Level Up Bariatrics, what an appropriate fuel is for a bariatric patient. Most likely it's going to have protein. Fill it up with the appropriate fuel. You eat when you're satisfied. That's how we know it's physical hunger. Emotional hunger, where physical hunger, several hours, emotional hunger, random times. You could have just built a beautiful bariatric plate. You have the perfect balance of macros that Whitney's been talking to you about, and you can find yourself after eating that plate saying, I have a taste for something sweet. Random times. Physical hunger, several hours. Emotional hunger, random times. There's no rhyme or reason. And did you notice I said I have a taste for something sweet? What I've learned about physical hunger from my patients through the years, and just obviously studying it as a bariatric therapist, is emotional hunger is often tied to our senses, right? So, eyes, nose, ears, mouth. And it's head, right? Okay, head hunger, right? We hear thoughts in our head, where physical hunger is more physical and more physical symptoms. Head hunger is going to be up here. Thoughts in our head tied to our senses. So I have a taste for something sweet. that pizza commercial, that pizza looks so good. Oh my gosh. Chocolate chip cookies sound so good right now. Or, oh, man, that popcorn smells good. Right? That smells so good. My patient who smelled the pizza baking in her oven. Or we go in the mall and we smell the pretzels, right? I used to know an owner of that Auntie Anne's pretzels or whatever they're called. And he said that was their marketing strategy. They got there bright and early and started pumping that smell into the mall. If you hear thoughts like this in your head hunger, and tied to your senses, I have a taste for that. Are we hearing an echo? Are we
Somebody
good?
Mute probably. Now they're good.
Okay, good. So I have a taste for something sweet that looks good, that sounds good, that smells good. Those are some key signs that, you know what? This must be emotional hunger, not physical. Those are some warning signs. And here's a biggie. Physical hunger tank, you give it food, you're satisfied. Emotional hunger, you give it food, it's going to persist despite eating. And I love sharing a patient story with this one because I think it's a patient story we can all relate to. You are sitting there and you're like, you know what? I think I have a taste for something sweet. So you go to the kitchen and you're looking for something sweet and you find something and you eat it and you're like, yeah, that didn't do it for me. Well, maybe I wanted something salty. So then you go and you eat something salty and you say, well, that didn't do it for me either. So they're like, oh, I think I got to eat them together. So I'm going to mix the sweet and the salty. So you eat it and you're like, huh, that didn't do it for me either. Emotional hunger persists despite eating. I'm going to say that again. Emotional hunger persists despite eating. Physical hunger, especially as a bariatric surgery patient, give it the appropriate fuel, you will feel satisfied. Emotional hunger, you give it food, you're not satisfied. In fact, I had a patient earlier today at one of my sessions say, I'm like, she had gotten into some emotional snacking at night. We talked about, just some warning signs. And she said, I probably should have known when I opened the refrigerator. And I said, oh yeah, no, I don't really want that cheese stick. Because if you are truly physically hungry, you're going to want the cheese stick, especially as a bariatric surgery patient. So emotional hunger persists despite eating. So I hope you find that chart helpful. So that answered the question, a little bit of what is this head hunger stuff? Now we're going to say, well, so what? Why did Level Up invite me, Lora Grabow, bariatric therapist, to talk to bariatric surgery patients about head hunger? It's because what I hear from my patients is they had surgery on their stomach. So I always go like this. I had surgery on my stomach, not my head. Right. In one of the groups that I was leading earlier today, we were talking about how quickly old habits come back. Like, well, this is just what I did for so many years at a Super Bowl party. I only had my surgery 8 months ago, but I had my surgery at age 40. So 40 years one way, 8 months the other way. Like, what comes back? And I said, you know what? Your old habits didn't get cut out of you in the operating room. They're like, man, I really wish they would have. And I said, I do too. I wouldn't have a job, but it would make your life easier as patients. But you did have surgery on your stomach. Again, you pick the best tool to treat the physiology part of the disease of obesity, but not your head. And that's why head work has to be part of your treatment plan. And the reason I am here talking about it is what I've learned, not only from the research, but most importantly, the countless patients that have invited me into their stories, is that emotional eating is the #1 trigger for post-op weight reoccurrence. I'm going to say that again. Emotional eating is the #1 trigger for post-op weight reoccurrence. I'm not surprised by this because when they do the study on all of emotional eating, they will say 75% of our overeating is related to our emotions. And the #1 reason anyone will gain weight or regain lost weight is eating when we're not physically hungry. And so when I have the opportunity to meet with patients in groups struggling with weight reoccurrence, or I'm meeting with them one-on-one in a therapy session or a coaching session, and we start talking a little bit about, well, what was going on in your life when you noticed your scale started going up again? I often hear a stressful event and a return to coping with that stress with emotional eating, whether that's eating through the feelings or whether that's I just put myself on the back burner again and I don't take the time to make the food that I need. And there's a lot of like, convenience eating and restaurant eating and that sort of thing. So let's do something about it, right? That's why I'm here. That's the meat and bones of my presentation is like, okay, that doesn't mean you have to have emotional eating treat your weight reoccurrence. We can do something about emotional eating. I think it's important though, before I jump in the tools, into the 3 tools, is that I let all of you know you will never eliminate emotional eating. You will never completely conquer emotional eating. We will all do it at some point. And my goal as a bariatric therapist is to certainly help you decrease the power of emotional eating in your life. But I have patients who had their surgery 20 years ago. They still struggle with some emotional eating, not as much as they did as a brand new bariatric surgery patient or before surgery. But I don't want you to beat yourself up to say, oh my gosh, there's this emotional eating roller coaster again. What is going on? We all struggle with emotional eating. All right, so tool number 1, I call it stop, drop, and roll. Okay, tool number 1, stop, drop, and roll. This tool is all about slowing down and identifying, am I really physically hungry? What is going on here? This is often a new skill for our patients. In fact, before bariatric surgery, a big part of my practice early on was doing all your pre-op psych evals, which I think are a very important part of the bariatric surgery process. And I would ask many of my patients, do you consider yourself an emotional eater? And often I'd get the answer, no. Like, I don't think so. Like, I just like food. Like, food's my thing. I like to eat. And then it's after the bariatric surgery that they realize, like, huh, I think I'm a bigger emotional eater than I ever really thought I was. And that's why I gave you that chart. I want you to slow down. That's another thing. Eating is not automatic. Our patients often feel like they're like, I don't know, like I was just eating the brownies. You tell me I had this thought, but I don't think so. And a feeling, because I'll say every behavior is driven by a thought and emotion. They're like, I don't know, I was eating the donuts in the break room. My car just ended up in the drive-through. I don't know how it got there. Eating is not automatic. If eating was automatic, things in our body that are automatic are our heart beating, blinking, digestion. I'm so glad I didn't have to get up today and say, okay, heart, it's time to beat. Like it just does it. But every time we put something in our mouth, we've made the decision to do so. There's a thought and there's a feeling. And so my job is to help people slow down and figure out, what am I thinking? What's going on right now? So before you eat, I want you to stop and ask yourself, am I really physically hungry? Think back to this masterclass and it's like, is this physical or is this more tied to my senses? I have a taste for something that looks good. What's going on? If you are not physically hungry, I want you to put down the food, remove yourself from the situation. So there's the drop. And then, of course, the roll. Put down the food. I want you to give yourself credit right in the moment. A big part of my work with clients is teaching you how to celebrate every step you take to change your behavior. And celebrate and say, like, good job, way to go. You just identified that you're not physically hungry, so you're not eating. But here's the next one. Ask yourself, what am I really hungering after? What am I trying to fill up? What do I need right now? My patient who was snacky in the cheese stick, she knew it wasn't going to do it for her. What we were able really to realize is she was tired. She was tired. She needed to sleep. Like, did you think about going to bed? Well, it was kind of too early. I'm like, well, who says? if you're tired, go to bed, right? Maybe you've had a long day and you're longing to unwind and decompress. That will be me. Like, I'm working a long day here. It'll be, after 9 o'clock here in Michigan when I go home. It's normal, healthy need that I want to unwind and decompress. We got to learn how to do that without food. So I don't know about you, but I learned stop, drop, and roll if our clothes are ever caught on fire. I hope that never happens to any of us. It has not happened to me in 50 years, thankfully. I think we're going to struggle with emotional eating urges a lot more than if our clothes get set on fire. But the same rule applies. Stop. Am I really physically hungry? If not, drop the food and then roll yourself right out. Make sure you celebrate your win. And most importantly, ask yourself, what do I need right now? What am I really hungering after? Tool number 2, process all the feels. There are so much of my work with my patients is helping them learn to name and feel their feelings without food, to name and show up to their feelings without food. This is by far some of the favorite part of my work, because what I love is, like, you're never too old to learn. We call it, the fancy word is either called affect regulation or emotional agility. Like, we know a lot about physical agility, getting our muscles pumped up, but there's also something called emotional agility. And what I've learned is that many of our patients who struggle with the disease of obesity really did not get those skills of how to name a feeling and be present with it in non-food ways, how to ride the waves of their feelings. In fact, there was also probably a lot of emotional eating taught to them. We learn our emotional eating patterns from our primary caregivers. I know, always on your report card, get to go to Krispy Kreme and get free donuts, right? I'm back from the age where you went to the dentist and you still got a sucker. I don't know what that was all about. Maybe job security for my dentist, right? Rewarding with food. You fall off your bike, we need a hug, we need our cut cleaned out, some Neosporin and a Band-Aid. Many people fell off their bike and they were given a brownie. So that emotional eating is learned early. We are learning to feel our feelings without food. And early on, I would start giving this assignment, whether it was in group or in individual sessions, about, I'd say, okay, this week, instead of eating, I want you to do a food mood journal. And instead of eating your feelings, when you're experiencing a feeling, I want you to write about it. And my patients would often come back to me with blank paper, like nothing. They're like, you told me to, like, feel my feelings, but I really don't know how to do that. And what I've learned is I was moving a little bit too fast. And the first thing is, you can't really process your feelings until you can name them. And so tool number 2, like I said, there's so much I could teach, and maybe I'll come back on this, but come back for another masterclass on this. But processing all the feels, you can't process them until you name them. And so many of us, when we say, okay, I'm like, so what are some of your feelings? We usually can identify 3. Like, all of us know happy, we all know sad, and we all know mad. But there's so much more. Happy, sad, mad. There's more than that. Does anyone want to share some feelings in the chat? Any feeling words? Someone put stress and fatigue. Yeah, I see that now. Anxious, absolutely. Anxiety is a big one, right? So happy, sad, mad, anxious. Anyone else? Joy. Shame. Shame's a biggie that our patients struggle with. Fear. Well, here's the thing. I'm so excited. This is the first time I've taught this class, and I get to share this resource. I wish I created the app, but I didn't. It was from Yale, so go figure. Those people at Yale, I think it was Yale, created a wonderful app called How We feel. How we feel. And it is now available for Android and iPhone. Let me see if I can find it on my iPhone here. It's like a little, well, of course I opened it. It's just a little heart. It's like a rainbow heart, how we feel. And it's a check-in, like this is the screen. It says check-in, right? So I click on check-in. I'm checking in. How are you feeling this evening? Oh, wait, it's not. There we go. And then it gives you like this quadrant, right? I'm feeling pretty pleasant. I'm gonna do high energy pleasant. And it gives me all these feelings words like excited, determined, enthusiastic, focused, delighted, and then it defines them. But on the other side, there could be scared, angry, frustrated, repulsed, disgusted, humiliated, disconnected, forlorn, spent, nostalgic, despair, hopeless. And then the definition of hopeless, feel completely defeated and despair about the future. And then you get to click on it and says, well, what were you doing when you felt hopeless? And they give you different events. Who were you with when you felt hopeless? Where were you when you felt hopeless? Describe what might be causing your hopelessness. So there's a journal piece to it. What was the time and the weather, right? I probably had a lot of more down feelings in January because we didn't see the sun in Michigan like hardly at all in January. Very related to the weather. So this is a really good one that I have many of my patients using, whether I'm working with them in groups or individually. So the How We Feel app. And then what I also love is there's little videos to be like, okay, remember we can teach, we can build our muscles, we can also build our emotional agility. And there's videos in that app for some suggestions. If you're feeling this, here are some suggestions. That kind of goes back to stop, drop, and roll. The question you ask yourself, what do I really need? What can I do right now? But what I love about the app is it gives you a great feeling vocabulary. If you don't want to use the app, you certainly can just Google feeling list. Many of us, I can't believe I'm a therapist and I don't have the mug with all the faces on it. I have to get it. You know, how are you feeling today? And there's all those faces. There's good feeling list out there. Whitney might give you one as being a member in the Level Up Bariatrics. I have one as a handout in my online course. And then, oh, let me grab this. I'm glad I'm in my office. There's a pillow out there. Look at that. It's called the Emotion Sensation Wheel. And it starts, it has, these are all feelings, but what I really love about this is not only do they do feelings, they do where are you feeling it in your body? Many people, before they can name a feeling, can identify the physical symptom first. Like, oh, my chest feels really heavy, feels really tight. My heart's going really fast. And so they give us, you know, sensations, jumpy, trembling, numb hands, cold, lip curled, looking down, empty, crying, body aches. So this is really helpful. You can get on Amazon. I actually had a patient buy this for me because I had been talking about it and just showing pictures of it in my teachings. And so she brought it in and I use it a lot with my clients. So there's another tool for you. So back to head hunger, and which we also call emotional eating, learning how to process our feelings. But before you can process them, the first step of that is you got to name them. You got to give your feelings a name. And you know what? If our feelings could talk, I think they'd say thank you. They would say, thank you for naming me instead of feeding me, because I really wasn't hungry. I just wanted you to recognize me. Which brings me to the third tool, which is journal. So once you name the feeling, you can, well, the How We Feel app gives you a place where you can write about it. You can also write about it. You can also write about it in like an old-fashioned paper journaler. I'm a big journaler. I do a lot of journaling in the mornings. At night, where you just kind of start writing. And a lot of my patients will often say to me, well, I don't really know what to write though. So could you give me some prompts? And so I included some prompts, and I want to give credit where credit is due. And I'm going to talk about this book at the end. 50 Ways to Soothe Yourself Without Food by Dr. Susan Elbers. This is from her, one of these 50 ways. You write about it. So if there's something stressing you out, the worst thing about this situation is right now, let's see, what's some stress I have? Oh, we don't know where my daughter's going to college yet next year. She's a senior in high school, and I have another one who's already in college, but the FAFSA, the financial aid form done through the government, has all been changed this year and didn't open until January 1. So everything's late. So that's a little bit stressful for me. The worst thing about the situation is probably just the not knowing, like, where is she going? What's our payment going to be? What's her payment going to be? Like, where is she going? 3 feeling words to describe how I'm feeling about not knowing is I'm obviously kind of frustrated with the government. So I'd put frustration. I would probably put some anxiety, but I think I'm also a little bit excited. Like, I just want to know, like, we have the academic scholarships, but I want to know that missing piece. Like, what is the full package? Because I'm excited for her to know where she's going to go, and it'll be good for us to know where she's going to go to. If I ate when I felt, if I was feeling some stress about college decisions with her, eating, I'd probably be munching something crunchy and salty, and it would probably almost like take the edge off or distract me, right? So the whole art of like writing this down, a journal, helps you go through the feeling, okay? Kind of get curious about it, what's going on in a non-judgmental way. Eating crunchy snacks is about numbing. It's about escaping. Head hunger is all about how can I escape? How can I numb? My passion with these tools, stop, drop, and roll, feel the feelings, journal. These are tools to help you cope through the emotion, not escape it. How do I cope through it? Because all of our emotions, they're like a wave. Like, I think of waters, waves in the oceans, or waves. I'm in Michigan, the Great Lakes. It comes up, it peaks. And this is where my patients feel it's going to like hang out forever. Like, it's too intense. I can't handle it. I promise you, it always comes back down. Right? Peaks and always comes back down. And whether you're processing it through the How We Feel app, or journaling about it, or doing something else in this book, that's one of the ways you ride the waves. All right, so some suggested resources. I mentioned this book, 50 Ways to Soothe Yourself Without Food. Dr. Susan Elbers, and she is a psychologist at the Cleveland Clinic. What I like about this book is literally you can have it just like sitting in your living room or on your nightstand, and you can open it and it walks you through a technique you can do right then, right? Like, okay, technique number 9, virtual bliss, kind of talks about it a little bit. Visualizing a soothing world without food. Mindfully create a new guided image. Choose a very peaceful place, right? So it like walks you through it. It gives you the skill right there to cope through. What I also love about Dr. Susan Elbers is she wrote a book after this called 50 More Ways to Soothe Yourself Without Food. So I hate to break it to you. There's at least 100 ways to soothe yourself without food because she's written a book about it. And they're good and they work. But I will be honest, the 3 tools that I taught, the 50 ways that Dr. Elbers is teaching, they're not going to numb you. They're not going to be able to compete with salted chocolate pretzels or salted caramel ice cream, because emotional eating and head hunger is about escape and numbing. The strategies I taught in this masterclass and Dr. Elbers is teaching you in a book like this is about how do I cope through? How do I cope through? And that's what we want to learn to do. Another book that I want to recommend, I actually just finished. And I actually just did in my online business. I actually just did my first ever book club. So I can't invite you to it, but it went really well. So I'll probably be doing more this year. This is an excellent book, Hungry for More. Stories and Science to Inspire Weight Loss from the Inside Out by Dr. Adrienne Udeem. Dr. Adrienne Udeem, whereas Dr. Susan Albers is a psychologist, Dr. Adrienne Udeem is an MD. She's an obesity medicine specialist out of California and is actually a beautiful human. And I was so happy to find a doctor who gets it, who gets head work. That she knows, yes, she can prescribe the GLP-1 medications. Yes, she can refer someone to bariatric surgery. But what she did is she wrote a book on all the universal hungers we have. So the chapters are hunger for perfection. That's a big one for my patients. Hunger for self-love, hunger for motivation, hunger for sleep, hunger for nurturing, hungry for movement, hungry for creativity, for power. And she goes through all of them. And so this is really one to help you identify what are the head hungers. This one tells you more, what do I do about it? This is, wow, I never realized I could have so much head hunger. What am I hungering after? And then you saw that I kind of skipped myself. I'll save myself for last here. I love having the opportunity to come here, and I would love to stay connected with all of you, whether you're here live or on the recording. I did create an online course. I thought every bariatric patient got the behavioral resources that our center in Grand Rapids gave. I mean, we were teaching topic classes every week, specialty classes. We had on-site individual therapy. And then I realized you don't. There's so many patients out there who are getting surgery and their surgery centers are saying, see you later. So I thought, well, how can I reach more people? So I created an online course called Foundations and Headwork for Healthy Weight Loss that you can find on my website, loragrabow.com. Discount code, just put in level up. It's going to give you 30% off till the end of February. It's $225. It is but you'll get 30% off that. It is a there's 7 videos in the course. You get emails from me, there's handouts, there's little quizzes, and I really teach on the foundational head work skills. So I dive deeper into head hunger. I have two weeks are on emotional eating. I do a lot on that thinking part, cognitive behavioral therapy and weight management, setting healthy boundaries, and harnessing the power of a support system. So would love to invite you into my online course community. If that's not for you, just simply go to my website and sign up for my email list. You just go to my website and at the bottom it says sign up for more. I do not send a ton of emails, but you will certainly, hear about things first. And speaking about hearing things, at the end of this week, I'm going to be making a pretty big announcement. I can't share it yet, but if you're not following me on social media, I'd love for you to follow me. I am just so towards the end of the week, on Instagram, I'm just at bariatric.therapist. And if you still use Facebook, I'm just Lora Grabow, Lora Grabow, LMSW. So I think that is it.
Lora, I really wanted to touch on the part, I don't know if you said it in these words, but this has personally helped me on anytime I've tried to let go of a poor behavior of the past. I listen to so many podcasts about how to do this and like really kind of take over your own brain, because your brain wants to do the easiest thing possible. Like we really have to learn to overcome hard things in order to continue achieving what we want. But in order to do that, you really have to adopt a sense of awareness about yourself. And so many people, they don't get what that truly is, I think. And what I get from it is when you're truly aware of yourself, you can stop and sit with yourself and be in the present moment. So for example, if you're driving on the road, instead of just mindlessly driving and going through the motions, like you're actually driving, looking at things like, oh, there's a dog on the sidewalk, there's a man walking his dog, like there's a Starbucks right there, there's this, like you're actually paying attention to what you're doing. And you can adopt that in your day-to-day routines too, instead of just going through the motions, like getting up and immediately doing this that you normally would do for the last 10 years. You actually get up and you're like, okay, how am I feeling? And you can connect that with your stomach as well. just be in the present moment. And when you develop such an awareness of yourself, your present moments, how you're feeling inside your body, inside your head, when you learn to do that, things become so much easier, relieving even, when you learn these tools on how to be aware and communicate with yourself and learn what you need. It's just, it's rewarding. It's real. I would say the word relieving, because if you don't know how to do it, it's very difficult to, instill changes and adopt changes.
You are so right. Yep. To be fully present and become aware, because our eating does feel automatic. It feels automatic, but it's not. Because if eating was automatic, let's say that I had this, this plate of chocolate chip cookies right here. If eating was automatic, I would not only eat the cookies, I would eat the plate. Right? Because it's just automatic. You keep going. It's not. Every time we eat, we can slow down, and there is a thought. The thought always comes first.
Yeah, it's all about like this the slowness. And I've learned, there's your ego, and then there's your your higher self, you can call it. But that ego just constantly wants to go, 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 wants to get past things. It just wants to speed through the day, speed through the lunch, speed through the work day, anything you're doing. And if you just realize that and say, okay, that's not me, that's my ego. This is me. This is what I'm wanting to work on. So I'm going to slow down intentionally with literally everything I do. I'm going to slow down while brushing my teeth and look at myself and talk positively. I'm going to slow down while I'm getting dressed. What's going to make me feel productive today? Just every decision that work out during the day can be made with intention, and it really makes your life feel more fulfilling, for sure, especially with the decisions associated.
Yeah. Are there any questions?
I just wanted to say one thing about hunger hormones. And I know a lot of people, they're like, well, I don't know whether I'm hungry or not. Like, sometimes fresh out of surgery, even for the first year, even, for some people, they may not have such a communication with those hunger hormones. So I did put in the chat, why it's so important to have regularly scheduled meals as a bariatric patient, because you may not ever be able to depend on hunger anymore, or you may feel such a level of hunger. The only issue is like your unbalanced meals, which we're going to be doing a workshop on next week. But yeah. Anybody questions? Anybody want to personally like bring something up? Oh, somebody was talking.
If anyone who's watching the recording wants to email me a question, it's just Lora@loragrabow.com. I'm sure Whitney can get all of you my contact information as well.
Erica, anything you want to share or ask Chrissy? We've lost everybody else. Okay, they're quiet mouses, quiet mice.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I don't have any questions. Sorry, I don't have any questions, but thank you so much, Laura. This has been really good information.
Chrissy, thank you so much for coming. I love to give you head work. I really believe it's the missing piece. You're welcome. Thank you, Erica. And stay in touch. For sure, follow me on my social. I love to welcome new people in my community.
To see more of Lora. We just adore her, and I love the way she speaks and teaches, and you're just a gem in the industry. So you're gonna see more from Lora for sure, and on the podcast. If you guys haven't listened, there is an episode with Lora on the podcast. It's pretty much it's the same thing. Yeah. So, but I'm sure we've said different things in that podcast. So catch that one if you've missed it.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
You are welcome. So happy to have you. Thank you so much. And we will stay in touch and catch you very soon, I'm sure.
All right. Have a good night, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.